Hello, welcome to the second video on my channel. For those of you who have watched the first video, super huge welcome back to this video. For those of you who haven't, go and watch it. But those of you who have, you'll probably remember that I had some audio issues with my first video. So hopefully this time you can hear me live now as I'm talking to you. Hopefully this is working. I really hope this is working. It was a lot of work last time. But anyway, I'm going to jump straight into the video for today. I don't want to waffle too much about what my channel is about because I did that last time. But as you can see, there's a lot of different biomes here. So when I spawned in on the last video, there were loads of different biomes around. I was quite surprised about my spawn, and I built a starter base there. So I'm kind of hoping in this video, and I kind of got inspired to do similar kind of starter base feel in a different biome, so that no matter where you spawn in your own worlds, you can kind of take some of the ideas from this video to, you know, build in your own biome. So today I think I'm going to do a jungle. I know I'm going to do a jungle starter build, I suppose. It's going to be a little bit more complex than the last build, but it's still going to be somewhat using the early materials in the game that you'll have in a survival. But I think it's quite a good idea for a jungle build, as there's a lot of trees. But we'll go through the build and the idea throughout this video, and I'm going to be building it here. This is where I've decided. I love this kind of like ocean river with the two sides coming down through here. So I'm kind of hoping I'm gonna build a jungle house, kind of incorporating the idea of treehouse across the river build. So I'm gonna make some platforms that go on these trees, and hopefully all together make a pretty cool build. It might not be the most practical base in the world, but I mean, why does practical matter when it looks good? So hopefully it looks good and you guys like it too. So I think I'm just going to jump straight into building these platforms on these trees here. Okay, so pretty short time lapse there, but I thought I'd just give you an idea of what kind of platforms I'm going for here. This is kind of the average platform, shall we say. So here you can see there's kind of like 4 blocks out jungle planks, 4 blocks out, 4 blocks out, and then I've kind of just filled in the corners appropriately to kind of turn it into a sort of circle. I mean, the bigger you make it, the more of a circle it will look like, but I kind of like the idea of having this one a little smaller. This one over here, the reason why I didn't show you this one first was because this I'm not doing a full circle for. I'm kind of cutting it off here. So this is kind of a skew-if platform, should we say. But if you want to copy this build or do something like this, is kind of the normal platform I'll be going for in all the other trees. So it's making a circle. However, so please, you could do something like this if you want it a little bit more diamond shaped like. But that's kind of the style of platform I'll be going for. That is I think all the platforms built. I think that is, yeah, I think that's all the platforms built. I don't think I'll be doing any more. As you can see, it's quite a lot of platforms, and if the more you add, the more difficult and more work it becomes. So I'm pretty happy with the positioning of these. I think obviously they look a bit strange, having been completely a different color from the wood. So I'm gonna now style them out a bit, make them look a little bit more like they're meant to be there. Obviously I'm going to be using spruce trapdoors for that, and some other stuff. If you watch my last video, you'll know I use spruce trapdoors for literally anything that I don't like the look of. So yeah, I'm going to spruce these up a bit, pun intended, and hopefully they should look like they belong there a little bit more. Okay, so I've added a bit of texture to these platforms, which I'm pretty happy with. I think this looks alright, yeah. I like the, I've gone with oak here for the stripped oak wood, all the way around. I probably could have done it so they were patterned a little bit better. Nah, it's fine. That's why it's stripped all the way around, right? Yeah, it's fine. I've also added the spruce... Oh, I forgot to place that one there. Some spruce stairs underneath, just to look like it's, you know, kind of anchored into the tree. But I think, yeah, I like the support that they... like, the supports they've got underneath. I think I'm going to add some kind of support, but coming from above as well. I practiced a few of these in another world, and I think I'm going to use chains to kind of look like they're suspended on the trees to look like they're being held up. So I'm going to put some chains on and stuff, have a play around with that and see how I can make them look like they're suspended on the trees. And I'm also going to add some... I need some sort of wall or something to stop you know, just falling off these platforms when you're running around doing your stuff and smelting and whatnot. So I'm going to add some sort of walls on here, add some chains, and then see how it looks. So I'm just come out at the end of the time lapse there of the spruce trapdoors and the chains, just because I wanted to show you what I've been doing for the chains and also kind of like how the spruce doors have worked. Spruce stalks have worked with the corners here, with the being on the outside. Some of them I've placed kind of weird around, but that's just to allow for these chains. Now the chains, they look alright. I think, no, I do like them. I don't know what's quite... I definitely feel like having these fences helps the image instead of just having the chains like that, because then it actually looks like something's being held up. As you can see, I've tried to place them kind of randomly, but most of them I placed in the corners because I've allowed for that space there in all of these corners with the spruce trapdoors. But some of them I've placed in the middle just to give it, like with the ones that've got branches and stuff. I have modified a few of the trees just to like help my sanity a little bit. So you can see this didn't exist until I added it, which is kind of a blessing being creative. But I mean, in survival you could try and use not silk touch, what they called, clippers, what they called, shears. You could use shears to get leaves and kind of adjust the trees to how you like it, but I've just built a few branches there. So I'm going to show you what I've been doing with the chains. 2 fence posts and chains on the way up. So I think that completes kind of the podiums. I think that it gives them a lot more texture and definitely makes them feel like they were made to belong there. Yeah, I quite like how that looks now. I won't start putting things on these and actually making them a base yet. I think what I want to do next is I want to connect them. Now, bridges are tricky, because the kind of bridge I want to do is something that bows down, kind of like, you know, I don't know, you've probably seen like wobbly, you know, bridges between 2 cliff faces with the planks of wood over and just the rope bridges. So I kind of want to do that to give it that kind of jungle vibe, but that is quite difficult. Now, I spent a while on the practice I had for this build, which didn't have as nicely placed trees as this did, trying to get an idea of what I wanted to do, and it just doesn't work using stairs and other bits like that. But I have, so I did some research, and I found a kind of design I like. I will do it, I think I'll do it on this short one here, and hopefully I'll do it correctly. So you kind of just got to find, and I did get this idea from Andy as Yoda. I mean, I'd be surprised if you were watching my video and you didn't know who they are. So definitely go, I'll probably put a link to the video that I got this from in the description if I can figure out how to do it. Definitely go have a look at that and how he did it. I mean, he's got a better idea of how it works than I have. I've kind of just looked at it one photo and gone, oh, that makes sense, let me just do that. So I'm not going to claim it as my own idea because it's not, but I am going to just like pop them around and kind of like mold the style to how I want them done. when they're flat, they work quite easily and they're quite simple. It's when you're doing difference in what's the height is when it becomes difficult. I did want it to be a little bit more hanging, but then I would have had to done some really serious steps going down, and then I think that loses the vibe, shall we say, of the bridge here. So I'm gonna do the rest of the bridges now in a time lapse. I won't make you watch any more of the bridge. I think I've gone over the bridge a little bit too much. What is that? Oh, this is... I forgot what the name of these are. Oh, that's not important. Not important. I'll find out where you are later. So, yeah, I'm going to go into a time lapse now, do the bridges, and then with these ones over here, I'll explain what I'm going to do with those afterwards. After that time lapse there, you can see I've added an extra platform here, and the reason why I've added an extra platform here to do this bridge here is because of this bridge here. I wanted a bridge between these two platforms here, and as you can see, this bridge looks terrible, and that is because this design doesn't work very well diagonally or going in any direction that isn't X or Y, or X or Z, shall we say. So it doesn't really work very well with this. I've done the best I can with this kind of design here. It's still, like, you're still able to get across, but you can see it really doesn't look very good. It still somehow keeps the same effect as the other ones, so you can still... Doesn't look like from a distance it's much different, but obviously when you're on top or below, it doesn't look very good at all. So after finding out that you can't do those kind of bridges diagonally easily or at all, I decided to, instead of what I was going to do one from there to there, I decided I was just going to do one all the way up straight to another platform up here, which I've just added here. It's smaller, but still the same structure and idea on that platform there. So when you do this build, and if you choose to do this kind of like build and copy some of this, just make sure your bridges are straight, otherwise you're going to have a horrible time spending ages trying to figure out how to make it work. So that's one thing I'd take away from this build, if you can, is make sure you definitely lay out your platforms properly before you start building bridges, and definitely figure out what you want from this before you start building it, which you should really do with most builds, but unfortunately I did not. So I'm now going to address the platforms that don't have bridges to them, like this one and that one up there. I mean, it's fairly obvious that one you just go up to this one for. So during the time lapse, I've added these little entrances here. So you go up the vines. I'm trying to keep the natural vine look. Opening the trapdoor, having to use a ladder because obviously you can't use vines when there's a trapdoor there. And then that's the entrance. And I'm going to go ahead and do the interior, and I'll make this design a little bit more useful. At the moment it's just some podiums, and hopefully it should look quite good, and then that should be the end of the build. So yeah, hopefully last time lapse. Right, I've done the interior. I'm just going to give you a few examples of what I've done on these platforms. You can obviously pick what you want to do on here, but this is just a few examples for you. I've got your basic entrance room, shall we say, with beds and furnaces and chests. I've done a weird farm here. Now, I actually quite like the idea of this. If you could do this on a much bigger scale with a much bigger one like that one, or maybe even bigger than that, this might actually be quite cool. Not only is it easy to farm because none of your stuff will hopefully go over these trapdoors, but I like the idea of it being circled. And all you've got to do is where those stairs were underneath, just pop a little water there, and it's sorted. And you don't even have to do anything underneath. So I quite like that. You could feel free to use that for one of your platforms. And it saves you building something on the ground if you want to keep it all kind of all in the same place. Down the bridge we have some furnaces and stuff. I've put an auto furnace in here. This is kind of incorporated into the tree here, just using these trapdoors to cover it up. I quite like how that turns out. I think you could do this with a few other things as well and have a kind of like automatic farm embedded in the tree. I wonder if you could do maybe a auto crafter one as well if you wanted. But yeah, that you could pop something like that. You got your normal furnaces there. Over here, ignoring that terrible bridge, you've got villagers and some, I don't know what you call these, just other tables of stuff. More chests. I've done logs in the end. These logs actually run all the way down to the end here, trying to make it look a little bit more like a tree, like it's meant to be there. I didn't like just the vines on their own, plus it's hard to climb up them because there's nothing for you to push against as you're going up. You just go straight through. So I've done that, but feel free to play around with whatever way you want there to be a transport up. But that's fine. Coming up here, I've just put an enchantment table and stuff, which works quite fine. And then over here, I've done a little cow farm area. You have to use fences for this because they can climb over the trapdoors. But again, with this weird, it's a weird platform like the farm, the wheat farm over there. But I like the idea. I think that cow just took full damage from those vines. Okay, well maybe you'd have to make sure there's no vines growing so your cows don't die of full damage. But I don't know. That's something you could do. I think that's quite clever. It keeps your cows safe from mobs and stuff. Yeah, that might be alright. And then over here, I haven't done anything here because I ran out of ideas. But again, using that kind of log way up there, which is actually quite hidden, so I kind of got away with that one. That is the interior done. So, oh, and of course, can't forget this one, massive chest room. The necessity for all bases is a massive chest room. You could probably do a few of these podiums, maybe instead of the cow one. You could do another one of these. But yeah, that is all of the platforms filled up, except from that one. Hopefully you like the way this looks. I quite like the way this looks. I think if you could make this without the diagonals and it only be bridges across from the levels, the same level, and then going up or down the tree, and then no diagonals, I think if you did that, mapped it out before you did it, it could look really good. I wish I'd spent a bit more time mapping out what I actually wanted from these platforms and where I wanted them to be. If I get in this boat here. So yeah, when you get back from your travels, I think going under here might look quite nice, and yeah, it's got the effect I wanted to have with those bridges for sure. Right, so yeah, there you are, there's the final build. Feel free to copy all of this if you like. Wouldn't copy exactly because it hasn't worked as well as I wanted it to, but yeah, take what you want from it. Definitely have a play around with what I mentioned earlier about the style of platform you want and the different patterns you could have on it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and this build. I think next week I'm going to try and do a completely different kind of video for you all, which may involve a guest, shall we say. Probably just something fun. something a little bit more entertaining than just building on Minecraft. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you want me to do it again with a little bit more planning ahead this time, and maybe give you a little bit more of a tutorial on the specifics. Good luck on the bridges. If you do attempt to do them, go back and watch it if you need to. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.